Hello and welcome. Tonight, Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau NSIB says there is no trace of missing persons or debris from the site of Thursday's helicopter crash in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Do whatever it takes to arrest notorious bandit leader Bello Turji. That's the charge from Defense Minister Muhammadu Badaru to the troops of Operation Fansar Yama. And Confederation of African Football awards victory to Super Eagles of Nigeria in the aborted match of the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Libya on October the 15th. Iran says that Israeli strikes on its territory killed 4 soldiers, even as Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, says it targeted missile factories and other sites near Tehran and western Iran. Over 48 hours after a helicopter crashed into the waters of Port Harcourt, the River State capital, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau says neither the debris of the chopper nor 3 remaining persons have been found. A statement on Saturday by the Director of Public Affairs and Family Assistance of the NSIB, Bimbo Ladeji, state that the rescue teams resumed search operation at 7:30 a.m. on Friday, in line with global best practices, but left the scene without finding anything nor anyone. According to the Bureau, the search area was expanded as part of ongoing efforts to locate the debris or signs of survivors. On Thursday, a Sikorsky SK-76 helicopter with registration number 5NBQG, operated by Eastwind Aviation, crashed on its way to the FPSO Nims Anton with 8 persons on board. The NSIB, which has commenced investigation into the incident, stated the rescue operations had continued to see the possibility of survivors. To security matters now, and the Minister of Defense, Muhammad Badaru, has ordered troops of Operation Fansar Yama to arrest the notorious bandits leader, Bello Turji. The minister gave the order while addressing the troops of 1 Brigade headquarters in Gusau in Zamfara State. Mr. Badaru, who is in Zamfara State for an operational visit to the headquarters of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansar Yama, also visited the Governor, Dauda Lawal.
Announcing the arrival of His Excellency the Executive.
The Minister of Defense and his entourage arrived at the Government House in Gusau to meet with Governor Dauda Lawal in the bid to tackle the insecurity bedeviling the state. The minister's visit is coming barely 48 hours after Governor Dauda Lawal and his Katsina State counterpart Diko Rada visited the minister and the NSA in Abuja. Governor Lawal used the occasion to reaffirm his government's total support for the military.
Zamfara is facing a lot of security challenges. And as responsible government, we are doing our best. And we are cooperating with all the security agencies in order to make them also comfortable to be able to perform their function effectively. We are committed to that. And I'm assuring the Honorable Minister, as well as the Theatre Commander and GOC, that Zamfara State remain committed to provide any assistance that you require.
The Minister of Defense, Muhammad Badaru, applauded the commitment of Governor Lawal to the restoration of peace in Zamfara. He added that the President Bola Tinubu is committed to improving the welfare of the troops and restoring peace across the country.
The federal government is committed to seeing the improvement of security and peace restored in Zamfara State and the country. And I assure you that President is doing all he can to support the armed forces and the states.
Mr. Badaru proceeded to the headquarters of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansar Yama, where he inspected the quarter guard and received briefs on the operational activities of the theatre. In his response to the briefs, he ordered the troops to arrest the notorious bandit leader, Turji.
President asked me to come and see what is going on because he's so concerned with the security situation in the Northwest, especially Zamfara. And he wants to get it end. And that is the instruction President gave us. Tell me what you want, but end the insecurity in the Northwest.
The Joint Task Force, Northwest Operation Fantayama, was recently established to address the lingering security challenges in the Northwest region and some parts of the North Central.
Still on security matters, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has stressed the critical importance of physical and mental preparedness for all personnel, especially given Nigeria's dynamic security challenges. A statement signed by the Director, Public Relations and Information of the Force, Air Commodore Olushola Akiboyewa, says that Air Marshal Abubakar reaffirmed NAF's commitment to rigorous training, which is in consonance with one of the key enablers of his command's philosophy. The statement adds that Air Marshal Abubakar, while highlighting plans to upgrade NAF sporting facilities, including constructing a state-of-art gym at the NAF Special Operations Command, reminded the personnel of the need to maintain vigilance, adaptability and resilience amid the evolving security demands. The Chief of Air Staff was speaking in Abuja on the occasion of the Nigerian Air Force fourth quarter Routes March exercise, which was conducted across all NAF formations in the country to promote physical fitness, mental resilience and unity, and that's in addition to reinforcing NAF's operational readiness. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Armed Forces have received donation of highly technical, non-lethal military fighting equipment worth £450,000 from the United Kingdom. This donation, which aims to enhance partnership between the British military and the Nigerian Armed Forces, is one of the series of assistance lined up for troops fighting Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. Officers of the British Army are led by the Deputy Commander, British Defence Staff West Africa, to present modern fighting equipment to the Northeast Theatre of Operations.
Thank you. That's all right.
This follows a series of counterinsurgency trainings on handling of sophisticated weapons and latest counterinsurgency tactics being conducted for Nigerian troops in the Northeast Operations Hadinkai by the British military. Among the equipment donated are improvised explosive devices, scanners, whose short supply have slowed operations of the military in terrorist strongholds. Welcoming the British personnel to the Northeast Theatre of Operations, the theatre commander highlights the long-standing ties between the military of both countries.
There has been a long history of bilateral relationship between Nigeria and the United Kingdom. In line with this relationship, the armed forces of Nigeria have enjoyed tremendous support. In this fight against insurgency, Operation Hadinkai specifically have enjoyed various forms of training support from the British, from BMAT. And this includes in forms of training support, equipment, and infrastructural aid that will assist us in the fight against terrorism and insurgency here in the Northeast. Today, this donation and this equipment support by the British Defence Section, which include training aids such as the dual sensor volume VM33G, one of the highly sophisticated equipments for countering IEDs available in the world as of today. Electric firing cables, electronic exploders, hook and line equipments, and other counter-IED equipment being handed over to 47 Engineer Brigade today is another significant achievement and assistance in the fight against insurgency here in the Northeast.
Before making a formal presentation of the fighting equipment, the Deputy Commander, British Defence Staff in Africa, says the United Kingdom supports Nigeria in the fight against violent extremism and that more support will be provided to the Nigerian Armed Forces to ensure the end of all forms of insecurity.
The UK stands with Nigeria in the fight against violent extremist organisations. And this highly technical yet non-lethal military equipment complements a new and significant training support for countering improvised explosives. And it will be delivered by the British military here in the northeast of Nigeria. Improvised explosive devices and ambushes continue to pose a significant threat to soldiers fighting Boko Haram and the Islamic State here in Nigeria. And it's only through a combination of advanced technology and the courage and the skill of the Nigerian Armed Forces and colleagues from the MNJTF that this will be defeated.
After the presentations, a simulation session is conducted to demonstrate how the latest equipment can be used. Personnel from the British Army are currently in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, working on enhancing critical skills needed for continuous counterinsurgency operations in the northeast and 7 other trainings which will be delivered before February 2025.
Away from security now to politics, and the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has again condemned the conduct of the September 21 governorship election in the state. The governor was speaking in an exclusive interview with Channels Television while also calling on the judicial system to respect the wish of the Edo people. Mr. Obaseki, who leaves office after completing his second term on November the 12th, painted a picture of democracy coming under an assault in a manner of the conduct of the election.
Well, I wouldn't want to talk about the elections because it's sub judice. The matter is in court. And I just hope that the judicial system will not fail us. The electoral umpire has failed us. They have performed abysmally poorly. And I just hope and pray that the last hope for us to believe in democracy, that the people's wish, the people's desire is respected and upheld, is the judicial system. So I hope and I pray that the judiciary will just do the right thing and sustain our democracy in Nigeria.
While the governor is also calling on citizens of the state to unite and demand for accountability and good governance from their leaders, Governor Obaseki believes that citizens have a huge role to play in ensuring continuity and sustainability of some critical projects across the state.
I think for sustainability and continuity, you must look at it from different dimensions. Yes, leadership is important, leadership is critical, but followership cannot and should not be taken for granted. We've shown leadership in the last 8 years that things are possible. I believe if the citizens insist and put pressure on the leaders, then they'll have no option but to continue. As a parent who has seen the progress the child has made in terms of his or her educational pursuit in the last 6 to 8 years, cannot sit back and not demand from whoever is in charge the continuation of a good life for his or her child. Because that's why you're living, that's why you're on earth. Civil servants who have been elevated, who are now respected in our society, cannot allow and should not tolerate any disrespect from any leader. Pensioners whose little pension which needs to be improved and gets paid on time must insist that it continues, because they know it is possible. It has been done for 8 years and there's no reason why it should stop.
In part 2, after the break, minor fire incident recorded on the Lagos Blue Line track, but was quickly put out by the State Fire Service and other safety agencies. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau NSIB says there is no trace of missing persons or debris from the site of Thursday's helicopter crash in Port Harcourt, River State. Do whatever it takes to arrest notorious bandit leader Bello Turji. That's the charge coming from the Defense Minister Mohammed Badaru to the troops of Operation Fantayama. Confederation of African Football awards victory to Super Eagles of Nigeria in the aborted march at the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Libya on October the 15th. And Iran says Israeli strikes on its territory killed 4 soldiers, even as Israel Defense Forces says that it targeted missile factories and other sites near Tehran and western Iran. The new Nigeria People's Party, the NNPP, has won all the chairmanship and councillorship positions in Saturday's local government elections across the 44 local government areas of Kano State. This was announced by the chairman of Kano Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Sani Malmafashi, at the commission's headquarters, declaring the NNPP as the winner in every local government contested. Our correspondent Sadiq Iliasu, who monitored this election, now reports.
The streets of Kano are empty as citizens prepare for local government elections. Despite court order in the build-up to the election, the process began early in some locations with traffic officials as lead security at the polling units.
The process is going normally, so that because I came, I casted my votes without any problem. Nobody can hit me or touch me or say anything. So I see the process is going well.
As we can see, people, they come out early in the morning, they cast their vote here, there is no problem. Even me, I cast my vote. Some people, they even come, they are waiting for the INEC officials come. As far as they come, at the very hour, we start the casting of the vote here, there is no problem.
A domestic election observer believes the election is hitch-free, but acknowledges some challenges ahead.
Well, so far we have gone around about 4 to 5 votes in the Saralo government. Kaula Goji, Gamma Tudung Wada, Dakata, lastly, this Taloni. And that's what we have seen. And we have seen the almost early arrival of the material. And secondly, it was people are being allowed to come and vote. Thirdly, I noticed there were a lot of high voters turn out.
Meanwhile, Governor Abba Yusuf, who cast his vote, expressed his satisfaction with the turnout and the smooth process during the election.
From what I saw today, from what I heard from all the 44 local government areas, I must say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, people have come out en masse to vote for the NNPP during this, today's local government elections, where supporters are casting their votes to elect the chairman of the 44 local government areas, as well as all the councillors. I'm very much impressed with the turnout of the voters. And the message is that they should be rest assured that those that are elected will live up to expectation.
Videos emerged on social media showing some youth kicking ballot boxes and tearing ballot papers. However, despite the controversies surrounding the election, the process is considered peaceful with no official report of violence. Sadiq Iliasu, Channels Television News.
At least 40 persons are feared trapped after the building collapsed on Saturday in the Sabon Lube area of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Sympathizers and emergency workers are at the site working to rescue those still caught beneath the debris. According to findings, the building reportedly under construction collapsed in the early hours of today, prompting calls for immediate intervention from government agency and emergency response teams. The incident is coming just weeks after the section of the 2-story residential building collapsed in Abuja's Kubwa area. The collapse of the national grid has once again plunged parts of northern Nigeria into darkness, affecting residents and businesses across multiple states. The 8th grid failure in the year 2024 has raised fresh calls for urgent action to address Nigeria's persistent power crisis. Businesses and households are now struggling to cope with the lingering outages, relying heavily on generators amid soaring fuel costs.
Frederick Idoko runs a barbing salon in Kaduna. Just like Charity Paul, who runs a business center, the power situation has become most worrisome. Like the several households, particularly in the north, that are facing the harsh impact of the latest national grid collapse, they've turned to generators to keep the operations running in spite of the high cost of petrol.
If I want to charge based on gen, a lot of people tell me they'll come back when there's lights. So it has been pulling my business down. I have no option. And like for today, I have to go on the normal lights price.
It hasn't been easy for us at all because whatever we make from the business, we just use it on the fuel to sustain our business.
Similar lamentations of power outage abound from other franchise states under the Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company, including Kebbi, Zamfara and Sokoto, where darkness has become the norm.
Majority of our work depends on electricity. You can see I have to come to a private place to photocopy and print my documents here. Because there is no light, we cannot sustain buying diesel and maintaining the lights.
In Benue, the situation is similar, as essential services such as healthcare and water supply have been severely affected.
So even the
Channels Television spoke to Dr. Stephen Hwande, the Chief Medical Director of the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, who said the facility now relies on generators to maintain 70% of its operations.
It's really affecting the services of the hospital, right from the entrance, because you need security lights, to service delivery. Like now you want to operate, you don't have light, you have to use alternative light source. You want to run tests and basic planning. We run on budget. So now we have to source monies for those alternatives, source money for diesel, source money for generator. How do we put this on the patient? So right now the hospital is running around 30% on solar. But the other 70% will definitely be affected by this surge.
The Benue State's Greater Makurdi Waterworks has also been hit hard, operating only with rationed power provided by the Jos Electricity Distribution Company.
Since they collapsed, most of our systems are done. Though the Jos Electricity Distribution Company have tried by rationing the power.
The Jos Electricity Distribution Company has attributed the drop in power supply to system faults, reducing allocations from 35 megawatts to just 10 megawatts in Benue State.
The system have been monitoring our network, have been monitoring the grid itself. The allocation we have now cannot carry the entire Makurdi outworks. Sometimes we have 14 megawatts, sometimes as low as 10 megawatts.
Meanwhile, the situation remains dire in Bauchi. The Bauchi State Water and Sewerage Corporation says using generators to supply water is unsustainable owing to the high cost of diesel.
When we have good power supply, we can as well supply that 75 million liters. But with this development, when we rely now on our standby source of power, we can go as only as high as 40%. Which is quite small.
At the Bauchi State Specialist Hospital, the state government shouldered the costs of diesel and 3 generators, yet services are barely maintained.
The only thing we can complain is the issue of diesel. But even in that situation, just recently, His Excellency increased the number of liters that the hospital is supposed to be getting. But nevertheless, His Excellency has approved the increase to about 16,000 liters every month.
Professor Barnabas Ikio, a physicist from Benue, has called for the privatization of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, as a long-term solution, citing the success of telecommunication privatization in improving access.
The transmission infrastructure, I beg to say it is obsolete, and I can quote the MD of Transmission Company of Nigeria who said it on national TV. Now in the power sector, we need to open it up, bring in the people who are in the business, let them do this as a business, and let us pay for our services.
As Nigerian businesses continue to suffer under the recurring national grid collapse, there is a growing demand for sustainable solutions to Nigeria's energy challenge.
1 week after the explosion of a CNG gas cylinder in a taxi cab at Aya in outskirts of Benin City, the Edo State capital, it is still generating lots of comments after that incident. The management of NIPCO CNG are distancing themselves from the exploded CNG gas cylinder, which they say was not installed by the company. Meanwhile, many motorists in Edo State are now switching to the use of CNG to run their vehicles due to the rising cost of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. Our correspondent Osaze Obaze reports.
The price of premium motor spirit, PMS, also known as petrol, has been hovering around 1,300 naira per litre in Benin City, the Edo State capital, with long queues remaining common sights at filling stations. Some motorists, however, already making use of alternatives, particularly the compressed natural gas, CNG, which is being promoted by the federal government as well. However, the explosion of a CNG gas cylinder at the NIPCO CNG fill-up station in Yai, in the suburbs of Benin City, has raised some concerns. About 11 people were wounded in the blast that came off the boot of a taxi cab where the CNG cylinder was installed.
Even the vehicle, the fuel, we are buying it at a exorbitant rate. Their pump is not normal. That is not only not normal. Another thing is that the quality of the fuel is not good.
Conversion to CNG is supposed to be an alternative means as against fuel price, because the cost of getting the gas as it were. But the fear we are having now, considering news spreading on the internet that it's exploding and all that, and we are also told that we are having a lot of traffic in where they are getting the gas as a means of survival. So I may not know what to say, whether it's going to be an alternative to this fuel, but it's supposed to be if we are having abundant supply, as we are getting the gas to buy with ease without any queue, it will be a good alternative to this.
One of the station managers, Vincent Ikechukwu, exonerates the company of any complicity in the explosion. He says the company takes safety measures before filling up gas for any vehicle.
They are using fake cylinder. It's not NIPCO cylinder. It's not NIPCO kit. It's a forged cylinder, which is not produced by NIPCO. Because NIPCO has their own standard cylinder, but they form their own. That is the result of the explosion there, because it cannot be able to withstand the pressure of our.
The implication is that the taxi cab that was involved in the explosion was not subjected to a thorough check before it was filled, raising further questions on the safety of the use of CNG. Although the use of CNG is relatively new, many Nigerians remain skeptical on its safety, and incidents like this only goes to confirm their fears. Osaze Obaze, Channels Television News.
A minor fire incident occurred on the Blue Line Rail Bridge today, and the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, as well as the technical crew from the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, were on ground to put out the fire. According to Lamata's technical team, the incident, which happened in Wada-Pogo-Ijorao-Lokwa Bridge, was as a result of an electrical trigger from one of the cables running through the bridge, powering the trail mobility. The quick intervention of the nearby Gomu fire crew doused the fire before it caused any significant damage. Still ahead on the news at 10, curtains draw as the 2024 IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington, with a promise to build on the initiatives and suggestions of annual events. And that's in business news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The Lagos state government has announced that it is set to commence urban regeneration of Lagos Island and its environs, affirming that a conducive environment is very essential and effective for economic growth. The State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Mr. Tokunbo Wahab, disclosed this at Ilubiri after a tour of the Lagos Island. It says that urban renewal across Lagos Island is necessary to effectively address the problem of flooding.
It's the second time in a week the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources is carrying out an inspection of drainage paths. This time, the commissioner in charge, Tokunbo Wahab, is visiting Lagos Island to prepare ahead of the urban regeneration plan for the axis. The Ministry of Environment is not doing this alone. The Ministry of Works and Infrastructure is also part of the exercise to ensure everyone is on the same page. It is obvious Lagos Island needs a makeover. Some structures have been built on drainage alignments, resulting to flood in the area, and the state government says it's determined to address the issue.
We want to have a very holistic approach, and that holistic approach requires the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources to sign off on some alignment because they want to regenerate the total infrastructure of Lagos Island. That requires the drainage level, the alignment, the collectors, the outfalls, the depth and the width of each and every one of those things to be constructed, to be agreed with the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Interestingly, they are about to move to sites. So this alignment and this sign-off gives them the impetus, okay, now we are ready to go. On our part, we have about 13 collectors and 2 outfalls to also put in place for them. So as they do the roads, put them higher than they are now, then the tertiary drainage they are going to construct will have to be discharging to the collectors that we are going to put in place to help deflood Lagos Island.
From Lagos Island, the team moves to Ilubiri to check the pump station project already completed and soon to be in operation. The commissioner warns residents against indiscriminate dumping of refuse.
Keep pushing the advocacy. Do what is right. It won't cost you anything. How would you wake up in your house? I ask anybody, a sane person, take your waste, go to the media and throw it there into the drainage. Does it make sense? How does it make you feel? You take a pack of dirt, throw it into a drainage, and you start blaming the government. Look at Simpson Street. We cleared it twice between August and last week. We are clearing it again now because of people's bad behavior. But are we going to drop the ball? No. Are we sanctioning them? Yes. We take them to court every day.
The Lagos State government says the construction collector drains project will commence soon in order to permanently curb the menace of flooding across Lagos Island.
Noella Foundation by Leila and Sheyi Tinubu, through the first ever Life After School Summit, has organized a full-day workshop for final year students from some universities in Lagos. The event featured workshops and career talks from industry leaders, leaving the students inspired for the future.
It's the very first edition of the Noella Foundation's Life After School Summit, and the energy in the hall is electrifying. Over 500 final year students from top tertiary institutions in Lagos, including Unilag, Yabatech, LASU, Laspotech, are here, buzzing with excitement. Co-founder and managing director of Noella Foundation, Leila Tinubu, shares the inspiration for the Life After School Summit.
The truth is that the job market in Nigeria, particularly in Lagos, is fiercely competitive. Many graduates face challenges, not because they lack intelligence or determination, but because they often lack specific knowledge and skills needed to stand out in such a competitive job market. This is precisely why we are gathered here today and why the Life After School Summit was birthed. The Life After School Summit is more than just a charity outreach. It is an investment in Nigerians' future, you, the youth.
I'm not saying anybody I sell to that.
The day is packed with engaging workshops from personal branding to navigating the job market and a session on CV writing. It's all about helping these young adults get career ready.
Just go back in time and say, I'm in my final year of university.
And they're not just learning, they're also hearing from industry leaders who share insights into different career opportunities.
Especially these days, everybody just wants to get there very fast.
Our generation and generation below us are the future of this country. So we have to also help provide ways for them to be able to get ready for life after university and also get into the real world. And that's one reason why I'm really proud with my wife and what Noella Foundation is actually doing in preparing and helping them with what it would take once you get into the real world.
So the summit itself, it's to become employable, career readiness as well. We've seen that many students don't even have professional headshots when in the job application process. Also revamping their LinkedIn, their online presence as well, and the importance of how you portray yourself online, because companies and employers will be looking into that.
A surprise appearance from music superstar Davido lights up the room with cheers, taking the excitement to another level.
I'm just happy to see a lot of people that have taken their education serious in here in this building, ready to, focus on the life after school, build a better future, for Nigeria. It's you guys that will take over.
Founded in 2018 by Leila Tinubu and her husband, Sheyi Tinubu, the Noella Foundation focuses on addressing some of the society's often overlooked challenges through impactful initiatives.
Nigeria's indigenous airline, Airpeace, has celebrated the 10th anniversary of its first commercial flight operation right here in Lagos. Since the inaugural flight in 2014, the airline has carried more than 24 million passengers on the service across several flights across Nigeria, the continent, and of course around the world. The Chief Executive Officer of Airpeace Limited, Allen Onyema, while thanking customers and employees with surprise awards, is also promising to expand airline's fleet in the next 10 years.
It's an evening of celebrations, networking, and solid entertainment from the biggest names to mark 10 years of an unprecedented journey for Airpeace Limited. To mark the day is a long list of high-profile personalities, including governors, ministers, captains of industry, business tycoons, industry experts from different walks of life, all gathered here for this special event. Nigeria's Vice President is the special guest of honor and is represented by the Minister of Transportation.
We are here, first of all, to recognize the immense contribution Airpeace has made to Nigerian aviation sector and to our national pride.
And then comes an array of goodwill messages.
This amazing Nigerian has not only built an airline, which is almost a proxy for a national airline. He's built an airline we are so proud of.
We are proud to support Airpeace in particular because they fly our flag very high all over the world. Airpeace is threatening the world right now.
Airpeace, led by the deletable chairman, has what you call financial discipline, and I don't know any banker that will not be delighted by such.
In his remarks, the CEO of Airpeace, Dr. Allen Onyema, while reflecting on the airline's achievements, takes the stage with a heart full of gratitude and a message of unity.
All the airlines in this world, the legacy airlines, they boast of over 1,000 planes. They don't own these planes. Give it to Nigerian operators. We own these planes ourselves. These ones, they don't own nothing.
And what an anniversary celebrations without a flying cake. It's been over a decade of commercial flight operations across the world. But what's the next chapter?
need to expand because Nigeria, when you look at the geographical position of Nigeria, we should be doing better in the aviation than we are doing now. So we already know what the causes are, and we are trying to address them.
Highlights of the event was the awards to customers, partners, and long-serving staff.
After 1 week of deliberations, the curtain falls on the 2024 IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington in the United States. And the promise already is to build on initiatives and suggestions shared for a better global economy. Our business editor, John Mekwa, who's been covering the week-long event, captured the high points in this next report.
The 2024 annual meetings opened on a bright note. The International Monetary Fund sees worldwide inflation cool from 6.7% in 2023 to 5.8% in 2024 and 4.3% in 2025.
We will cherish the good news, and rightly so, because we haven't had much of it lately. The big global inflation wave is in retreat. A combination of resolute monetary policy action, easing supply chain constraints, and moderating food and energy prices is guiding us back in the direction of price stability.
It was not an easy path to achieve this, and the president of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, resounds the lessons.
Was affected by that. But I think to have the ability and the humility to recognize that, okay, we got that wrong, and we need to reassess, and we need to re-examine what analytical tools we have, what models we use, how we are prepared to be receptive to different indicators and instruments. I think that was helpful as well.
Due to geopolitical
Unfortunately,
tensions,
the low-income countries are still struggling with high inflation and interest rates. And the risk of elevated inflation for other parts of the world is not over.
There are reasons to remain vigilant. Oil prices have been rising, in part due to geopolitical tensions, and services inflation remains stubbornly high in many countries. Further trade restrictions could also push up goods inflation. Bringing inflation back to target should remain the priority.
Ajay Banga for his thoughts on the topic.
Among other approaches of staying cautious, the World Bank Group is calling for attention to agriculture and food as engine of sustainable growth and jobs creation.
We've spoken about the potential of agribusiness. We are combining a new way of working with a new level of investment, doubling our agri-finance and agribusiness commitments across the group to $9 billion annually by 2030.
Another highlight of the year's meeting is the 80th anniversary of the IMF and the World Bank Group. The commemoration comes with responsibilities and the need to adapt to new global challenges. There are requests to the form of changes from member countries.
Civil society organizations in Africa and in Nigeria in particular are demanding and requesting for a total reforms in the governance framework and relation in IMF World Bank. This is because we believe that there's need to democratize and ensure more transparency and accountability in the IMF World Bank framework. It is absolutely important to understand that many countries in Africa economy is falling down, and lack of information from both governments in countries and also from the IMF that will hold government accountable for its financial dealings with financial institutions, continue to create gaps, continue to create doubt, continue to create rumors.
The global financial architecture itself is not fully reformed. Either when a country comes to the IMF for loan, or if they go to the global market for loan, there are structural impediments that are there. One of those is the rating, the work of the rating agency. So African leaders are still asking that, while the third share has been added, this is not enough.
It's been an intense week of conversations, and every part of the world has been represented, and their issues have been brought to the table from the countries who are debt stressed, the low-income countries, and the developed countries. The developing countries and their issues have also been discussed during the meetings in this past week. The results should be by this time next year during the annual meetings of 2025. After consultation, some of those reforms that will help both the IMF and the World Bank handle financial issues of the world more fairly will be brought to the table with the intention to build a new phase for the two institutions. And then after that, by 2026, the world will be heading to Thailand for Thailand 2026. And I'm sure they are preparing to host the world then. But for now, I'm John Mekwa signing out from Washington, D.C. at the annual meetings venue.
Still staying in the world of business, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, says that oil-producing countries in sub-Saharan Africa are now growing at roughly half the pace at the border region. According to the IMF's latest World Economic Outlook, the region's economy is projected to grow by 3.6% this year, consistent with last year's growth, and a slight downgrade from the 3.8% forecast in the month of April. The IMF's Regional Economic Outlook for Sub-Saharan Africa highlights that while diversified economies like Senegal and Tanzania are projected to grow above the regional average, Nigeria is expected to lag, with growth forecast at 2.9%. Back home, positive sentiment returned to the local bulls this week. The all-share index advanced by 1.41% to the 99,448.91 points, driven by strong investors' interest. As a result of this, the month-to-date and year-to-date returns improved to plus 0.90% and plus 33.00%. Sectoral performance was broadly positive as all key indices recorded gains. Interlinked PLC also topped the gainers chart with 20.69% increase. For Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, Power led the decliners for this week. UBA, Champion Brewers PLC, Japol Gold and Ventures PLC were the most actively traded stocks by volume. The NAST OTC securities market, its performance ended the week stronger. The index jumped by 31% week to date, while the market capitalization closed higher at 1.05 trillion naira. At the same time, the volume of securities traded this week fell by over 90% to 7.55 million units. The total value of transactions for this week also fell by more than 3.92%. The number of deals carried out were down 22.22%. Week on week. And the top three advances for this week are Mixter Real Estate PLC, NIPCO PLC, and Central Securities Clearing Systems Limited, Arkan Petroleum PLC, Industrial and General Insurance PLC, and Geofluids PLC. Those were the losers for this week. The Confederation of African Football CAF has awarded the Super Eagles of Nigeria 3 points and 3 goals in the aborted match day 4 of the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Libya, scheduled for October the 15th. In its verdict today, CAF's disciplinary board ruled that Libya was found to have breached Article 31 of the Africa Cup of Nations regulations and Articles 82 and 151 of its disciplinary code. But Libya was also ordered to pay a fine of $50,000, with a fine to be paid within 60 days of notification of this decision. Well, this means that Nigeria is close to qualifying for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations with 2 matches to spare. Victory or draw against Benin Republic next month will land the Super Eagles a ticket to the tournament in Morocco. Champions already, Manchester City have now moved back to the top of the table, as Erling Haaland's early efforts already proved enough to beat struggling Southampton. Haaland turned Matthias Nunes' 5th-minute cross beyond Southampton goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale for the 11th goal for the season. Well, Bournemouth striker Evan Nilsson scored with the last touch of the game to rescue a point at Aston Villa. Wolverhampton Wanderers staged a dramatic late fight back to snatch a point and lift themselves off the bottom of the table in a thrilling game at Brighton. Substitute Beto netted a dramatic equalizer deep in stoppage time to salvage a draw for Everton against Fulham at the Goodison Park. Brian Mbeumo scored 69th minute. At the 96th minute, a winner for Brentford defeated Ipswich Town in a 7-goal thriller at the Community Stadium. And as for Newcastle United boss Eddie Howe, he has maintained the challenge of keeping his own star players happy in a two-way thing as the club pursue an upward curve. He's desperate to now keep the record singing Alexandra Isak amid speculations linking the forward with a move to Arsenal. But Newcastle United visited Chelsea on Sunday with reports that talks over a new contract have already stalled. He has 4 years left on his current deal. The 46-year-old says that Newcastle United were desperate to keep hold of the 25-year-old Sweden international.
We have to have a perception of achievement, growing as a football club, to keep not just the so-called big names happy, but everyone happy and going in a forward direction. I've seen it very quickly go the other way. So I think myself, everybody connected with the club has a big job to try and keep that momentum positive and keep the dreams really big. And it's absolutely crucial that we continue to do that. Now, we have to act on the pitch as well. You know, that you can't just talk about it, you have to deliver on the pitch, and that's what we're trying to do.
And Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca has urged captain Orisa James to show more leadership as he looks to galvanise his team. James made his first appearance of the season in Chelsea's 2-1 defeat to Liverpool last weekend after a long injury absence. The England defender did not travel with the team for the UEFA Conference League win on Thursday. But James is now expected to feature against Newcastle United in the Premier League on Sunday, and Maresca wants more from him.
For sure, it's something that show that we are in the process and they want to understand and they want to learn things. That moment with Malo was just a doubt that he had in that moment, so he was asking for clarification. We know that especially Premier League is tough league and you need to be defensively strong. Probably the last game against Liverpool with Moy and with Romeo, Enzo was on the bench, but that means that he will be always on the bench. But it's just, as I said, a matter of the right balance.
And in tennis, Ben Shelton's big kicking lefty serve proved the key ingredients of snapping one of the ATP Tour's most impressive open streaks at the ATP 500 Swiss indoors. Shelton defeated Arthur Fils 6-3, 7-6 in the hard-fought 878-minute encounter to hold Fils' winning streak to set up a meeting with Giovanni in Sunday's final. With this win now, the 22-year-old American has guaranteed himself a return to the top 20 of the ATP rankings. He will rise another spot to 18th if he lifts the trophy on Sunday. Well, even with the 2024 season into its final weeks, Jack Draper already continues to break new ground. Draper also held his own serve and nerve to edge Lorenzo Musetti 6-2, 6-4 and reached a championship match at the Austrian Open in Vienna. He battled through a topsy-turvy second set before completing a 1-hour, 49-minute victory. The 22-year-old British will now take on Russian Karen Khachanov for the trophy, knowing that he will rise 3 spots over career-high number 15 in Monday's edition of the ATP rankings. Outside our shores, away from sports news, Iran's army says that Israeli strikes on Iran in retaliation for Iran's missile attacks earlier this month have killed 4 persons and 4 soldiers specifically. Israel's military said that scores of jets completed 3 waves of strikes before dawn against missile factories and other sites near Tehran and in western Iran, warning its heavily armed foe not to hit back. Tensions between Iran and Israel have grown rapidly since October 7, 2023 attack on Israel by Iran-backed Hamas, raising fears of a wider regional conflict that could drag global powers and imperial world energy supplies. Michelle Obama, in her first public campaign event in the U.S. election, will join Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris in Michigan, while Republican candidate Donald Trump holds his own rally in the battleground state. With some 8.4 million registered voters and 15 electoral college votes of the 217 needed to win, Michigan is one of the 7 competitive U.S. states that will decide the election. It is part of the blue wall that is considered Democrats' best chance of electing Harris, along with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. In Michigan, Harris and Trump are battling for voters that include a large Arab American and Muslim population concerned about Israel's war in Gaza, and union workers worried about how electric vehicles could reshape the U.S. auto industry, which is the headquarters of Detroit, the U.S. largest city. And the main news again, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, NSIB, has announced that there is no trace of missing persons or debris from the site of Thursday's helicopter crash in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwaudu. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Good night.